I wasn't comfortable with women many years ago in my early 20s. I had so many fears and insecurities, and I was scared to admit the fears to other people, and I was quite scared to actually fully admit them to myself. I felt very ashamed. I felt like a very weak person. I felt almost like a feeling of self-disgust, if that makes sense. I was basically so horrified by my own feelings of inadequacy, my own feelings of unattractiveness, and my own feelings of not being able to handle relationships and situations with women that I felt that normal people could. So it made me feel like I wasn't normal. It made me feel like there was something wrong with me, like I had a serious problem. So I was very nervous with talking to women, very nervous of holding eye contact, very frightened, more frightened to open up and to show my emotions, just to be more honest, more intimate, scared on every level. And then a little bit later on, when I started to get a bit more experience with dating and relationships, I was so frightened of sex and being naked, and the bullying fear that underlined that was I was worried that downstairs I'm going to be too small. Women are going to make fun of me. They're going to laugh. I'm not going to be like other guys in that department. The second fear was I won't be able to perform. I won't be able to satisfy a woman, and this was frightening me to death. And most of it, the pain was shame. Real toxic shame that was making me feel awful about having these things and feeling that I can't talk to anyone about this. That is so horrifying, it's so uncomfortable that if I was to share this and speak to a family member or a friend or just outside society, people would be like so shocked and mortified. So I just kept it bottled up for many years, and I was praying that it would go away, and for a long time it didn't go away. I didn't I didn't know how I could solve the problem, and I didn't like feeling uncomfortable. I remember when I first started going out on dates with women, before the date, on the day of the date, I was having mini panic attacks. I was in the mirror checking how I looked. I was trying to almost rehearse what would I say, where am I going to go, where am I going to take the girl. What if I start stuttering, what if I get socially awkward. I had so much paranoia and fear and anxiety to the point where it was unhealthy. It was making me sick. Then when I would go on the dates, I would always do better than I thought, but it always never felt good enough. So many years I suffered in silence with this, and when I eventually got to a point where women were pursuing me more, because I was interested but I was scared to make the first move, so they would make the move. And when I finally got to a position when I was in my early 20s and I was going to sleep, make love with a girl, I couldn't get an erection, and I didn't know that there was actually a real medical term or a doctor psychologist term called erectile dysfunction. What I couldn't, it wouldn't go up, I just went numb, and I couldn't understand why is this happening to me when I'm attracted to this girl and she wants to make love with me, and it's so humiliating. I felt disgraced. I felt like I wanted to die, disappear. I wanted the ground to swallow me up. So I wasn't able to perform. I went home that day, I couldn't sleep, I was beating myself up. And it can sound dramatic, but it's true. It all started making me have suicidal thoughts, and my anxiety just got bigger and bigger because I kept thinking, no other guy goes through this. I'm the only man in the whole world this is happening to. Now, obviously, I'm a changed man now. That was a long time ago. I overcome all these things. So any of you that are going through it, I can tell you what the solution is. The solution was I had to go for it. I had to keep putting myself in these fearful situations until I could fight the fear and get used to it. And eventually what started to happen automatically, obviously through me putting in a lot of effort, my own bodily reactions in social situations with women, and even in the situations where, going to make love, my body, my fight or flight adrenaline naturally stopped getting triggered so aggressively. And that told me that was because I was getting more confident and relaxed in those situations. So exposure therapy was what I was doing. I wasn't aware that I was doing exposure therapy back then because obviously I wasn't educated on this matter of anxiety, and one of the most powerful therapies in the world which is common sense, which is if you have a phobia or a fear of something, you have to keep confronting it. In most cases, I would say, obviously there are exceptions. If someone's got severe mental illness, then that might not be the right approach. But generally, for most able people, if you're frightened of something and you keep doing it, you get better, and you get less scared. So as I kept going through it, and another thing that I did, which I'm doing right now, was which is a confessionary practice. I eventually had the courage to tell women and communicate and say, look, I'm nervous. I don't think I can get an erection. I might not, or I'm nervous on the date. I just feel nervous. I got to say, they were always very supportive and great, and they didn't run out of the chair or run away or reject me. They were understanding. They actually admired my courage. Then that would help me to settle my nerves. So it was a combination of doing those things, and then, within all those things, it was also, I had to build more confidence and self-esteem. I had to get comfortable with my own body. I had to get more comfortable in my own skin. But nonetheless, I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I didn't realise that back then. And one thing I realised was later on, obviously, when I became a professional dating and relationship expert, I started getting all these emails and messages from men all around the world saying, Johnny, I can't get an erection, or Johnny, I'm terrified of women, or I can't be intimate with women, or I'm afraid, I'm scared in case I get hurt. Because I realised, oh my God, another lie has been, another lie has been not disproved, that's not the right word. I've realised people have been lying for many years. So I thought I was the only one, because no one would admit it. When I'd asked people, I didn't get any honesty out of them. Then I thought, oh, it makes sense. Obviously, people lie about their fears because they're ashamed of them, they're scared of them. There was a point I did that, so it takes one to know one, until I had enough of keeping it in. So getting it out was the way I could solve the problem, by being honest about it. Confession. So, wow, what a perspective. And then I was like, well, a lot of these feelings I'm having, I didn't realise at the time, women have got to go through these. Obviously, women have got fears of all these things. Men have. It's a human fear. It just so happened that maybe I couldn't deal with the fear as well as other people could at that time. And a lot of it contributed to my social fears. And I knew where these come from. I knew why I was having such a terrifying response to relationships, dating, sex, making love, building relationships, being open, being intimate, showing affection, being able to touch, being able to be loved back. And it wasn't like I didn't get love growing up. I come from a very loving family. My mum was very loving and caring. But it wasn't that done the damage, it was the bullying at school when I was younger. It was being laughed at by kids, by the guys, by the girls. It was bullying later on around my area. So bullying traumatized me. And I had to also rationalize, if that's the right word, what was normal and what wasn't. So I was being too hard on myself. I was basically punishing myself for a normal, healthy human response that everyone has to a certain degree. When you're going to meet a new person, or of course you're going to have fears when you're going to make love with someone and you've never done it before. You're human. You wouldn't be human if you didn't have those feelings. And I was blowing my normal human reactions out of proportion because I thought other people didn't feel what I was feeling. I was so wrong. Once I overcome this problem, which was basically through exposure. And what happens, like I've already described, through exposure, you become more desensitized. Maybe that word doesn't sound so appealing, but what that basically means is you get used to the feelings. You're less afraid of the feelings, and then you can relax. Exactly in the same way I'm doing this video now, I'm so much more desensitized to the fear and the anxiety that any person would feel in their body when they get in front of a camera and start speaking in front of a camera and then put the video on the internet. Now, obviously, some people are more confident than others. I've been doing this for almost 10 years. But it doesn't mean there are times when the emotions come up, the anxieties, the fears, it's intrusive. You're putting yourself in the spotlight. So that was it. That was another factor. I wasn't comfortable being in the spotlight. It started to make sense. I weren't comfortable being naked with a woman. She seemed to be much more comfortable than me because I wasn't comfortable at school being in front of the class reading a chapter out of a book. Because when I did it when I was younger, I got nervous and everyone laughed at me. So there was a lot of embarrassment I was carrying from my childhood, and that embarrassment was being triggered in these new situations. And it wasn't just with, making love and being naked. It was also just having a conversation in a bar, just sitting opposite and having eye contact. I used to get very uncomfortable. I wanted to always look away. I got this uncomfortable panic coming up, and it started to make sense to me the more I explored it. And what I later realised was I cared too much about what people thought about me. I was scared to show vulnerability as a man because I thought they're going to judge me. It's going to leave me vulnerable. It's going to leave me open to be attacked. And I don't want people knowing these hidden secrets. But I didn't realise that aspect of me, that part of me that thought that, this sounds quite deep, that wasn't the real me. Because the real me actually didn't care to a large degree what people thought about me, because I had self-confidence, I had integrity, I had good values, and I had my own mind. And that's the part I started to develop. That's the part that's doing this video now. And I knew if I keep going with this, I keep practicing being honest and treating women well and being respectful and valuing myself and admitting what I'm frightened of and then conquering it, it doesn't matter what someone's opinion is of me, because I've got my own happiness. I've got the result. I don't care what they say. Whatever they say, it doesn't make a difference, because now I've overcome the problem. But if I didn't have the courage to be open and admit these things, I'd still be in that predicament right now. I'm 37 years of age right now, or as Les Brown said, I'm 37 years young. I'd still be the same way that I was when I was a 21-year-old virgin. By the way, there's nothing wrong with being a virgin. I'm just making a point of saying I would still be a virgin. I wouldn't have any woman. I'd still have that problem. So I know, 100%, me sharing my story on the internet is going to help so many men who may be feeling right now exactly how I was feeling back then, where I felt I'm lonely, I've got no one to talk to about this. I can't even bear to approach this conversation with someone because of the embarrassment and the shame and the fear of someone laughing at me or, thinking I'm a terrible person. Now I don't feel like that at all. I look back at that person and think, that's just a genuine young guy that was scared, and was scared for a good reason, because of negative things he went through in his own fears, and because a lot of people around him were not honest about their fears. Later on, people come out. So it's a funny ordeal. But then you think about anything good in life, I don't know why this came into mind, I've got to share it. It's another thing about being confident. Sometimes you have to say things that you're worried about other people judging when you know it's true and you're passionate about it. Think about a woman giving birth to a child. That's not a pleasant experience for a woman. That's excruciatingly painful, right? But she has to go through that to produce, obviously, a miracle, a baby. Life comes into existence through going through a lot of suffering. I thought, there's a precedent, there's some kind of principle in this. So I didn't realise that to get a great relationship with a woman, to make love, to have honesty, to have intimacy, there is a moment where you've got to go through it's uncomfortable, having a conversation with this level of honesty. But if you can go through that, something beautiful comes out of it. And when I realised that, boom, it clicked. So for many years, I didn't want to go through discomfort because I associated it as a bad thing. I'm bad because I don't feel good. It's not true. It doesn't make sense, but you understand it with the way that we've been conditioned and taught, especially if you believe that other people don't feel uncomfortable in social situations or in relationship predicaments, then of course you're going to feel wrong or guilty. But when you uncover the truth, which is people lie, people are not all people, but a lot of people lie and say, I'm not scared. It's something you do in the school playground. I'm not scared. My dad's tougher than your dad. Or I'm not. And deep down, it's the opposite. You are scared. You're saying you're not scared to cover up the real lie, which is you are scared. There's nothing wrong with being scared. I get scared so many times in my life. So does everyone else. So it's how you deal with it. It's your relationship to how you deal with these things. And as I got more confident experience, I stopped judging myself for things that are human. So a real learning curve, and I started, the key thing is honesty is the best policy. No matter how difficult it is to approach a subject, it's better to be honest and get it out. Practice makes confident, practice makes perfect, which is exposure therapy. The more you put yourself through something, the better it gets, the easier it gets, the more confidence you get, and you get past that voice, that resisting, judgmental voice that tries to keep you silent, stop you from doing it. And I had to realize as well, man, there's so many good people out there. You think in your head, oh my God, if I share this stuff and say it, I'm going to be crucified or killed. But it's actually, no, a lot of times, no, people are so, they're so shocked, and they appreciate it, and they respond so well because you've had the courage to say what a lot of people would like to say, but they dare not to say because they're scared to be honest and tell the truth. And then things work out, and then I was able to heal myself and have so much better relationships, not just with women, with people in general. So great videos like this YouTube video I'm doing today came out of those days going through those traumatic, difficult experiences. And then later on, when I'll be in those situations, I was so relaxed. So you can solve it in the end if you practice, all right? So I hope people got a lot out of this video. It will help a lot of men and women in all different areas of relationships and social fears and things like that. And this is how you get rid of shame and all these things, all right? Become fearless, because when you do, your life becomes limitless. And if you stayed to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. And don't forget to share this video, subscribe to the channel. I probably would have said that at the start anyway, all right?